All right, welcome people. Good to see so many people here. Actually, that's nice. So I just want to make a disclaimer that we're going to record the presentation part of today for future reference and also for people to look back, because many people also couldn't make it, who said they're interested. In the conversation part, we'll not record, so none of you will be in the picture. If you want to be in the picture, then jump into the picture. But otherwise, there is no one in the picture except for us. Thanks for understanding. And yes, I want to welcome you for this presentation today. We're gonna share our research results and the outcomes of applying these research results to the Groene Hub. This has been a collaboration with the Vrije Universiteit, and the topic is building community self-organizing capacity for the social energy transition, with the focus on Amsterdam Southoost. So, just to introduce ourselves. So my name is Aman, and I'm a project coordinator here at the Groene Hub, and I'm focused on energy transition and the quick fix team, which goes to people's homes and helps to improve them, and also looks at reducing the energy bill and improving the housing quality. And I'm also the project coordinator for the Energiebespaar service, which is a tender that the municipality of Amsterdam has put out, and we're doing the tender in Amsterdam Southeast. And my coordination tasks also include human resources, which I do together with colleague Shivani, and finances, which I do together with colleague Bram.
Well, I'm Isa, and I'm a master's student of the Master Management Policy Analysis and Entrepreneurship in the Health and Life Sciences. And I'm now doing my finishing up my internship here at the Groene Hub and doing my thesis about the social energy transition.
Yes, I'm Eduardo Urias. I am assistant professor at the FU, and I supervise Lisa's internship, but also I would have a slide about a course that I coordinate, that also Rosa and Abby, who are here, they participated. So yeah, very happy to be here to share what we did in the past 3 weeks.
Yeah. So the program for today will be split in 3 parts. So the first part will be the presentation of the research results. So that's really focused on the research that was done by the research group, it was actually. And also important to make that separation. So it's really like we dived into the theory, and then we also applied it to the practice. So we're first going to focus on the theory. Oh, just go back. And then in the second part, we'll be talking about what the results are of applying this framework to the practice context of the Groene Hub. And in the last part, we'll go into conversation, and there'll be a little bullet at the end for people who want to still chat a little bit. Yeah. And oh yeah. A little bit about the Groene Hub, if you haven't heard about us yet. So we are learning and doing community for environmental and social projects here locally in Southeast. And importantly, like we have a space here where different stakeholders can come together, from government to research to residents to businesses, and really work on the sustainability solutions that we need for the future.
And as I said, I coordinated this course at the FU. That is a course that's open to master students of the whole university, and even beyond that. I coordinate together with my colleague Hetje, who is also here. And I think there are like 2 courses, but we have the second course that's quite unique also because it runs for 20 weeks. Usually the courses they were 4 or 8 weeks. This is spread for the entire second semester. And then we had also Rosa is a PhD candidate at the FU, but she joined the course part of the team. It was me, also Kaya, who was also in the research team. He will arrive at some point soon. It was like the 5 of us, me, Lisa, Rosa, Avi and Kaya. And here is also part of the community starts learning program of the VU. So thanks to Gina who connected we to the Energy Labs IDOS to Aman. So then we started discussing about energy communities, energy cooperatives, and in the community starts learning. The idea is that we have this. The service is okay. What kind of activity we can do that combine the learning that the students need to something that's also relevant for the practice, to the actor that we collaborate with. Of course, in theory, it's nice, but in practice, there are a lot of back and forth on what we do. We always say that we are kind of building a bridge while we walk. So I'm very happy that the students stayed with me till the end. And we also came here several times and supported the Groene Hub in different activities, from work on Excel tables to sort out formulas, helping to in the logistics and storage of the supplies for the quick fix, among other things. So we have these different reciprocal relationships that we can build knowledge together, but knowledge will eventually hit and make some change, but how we can also have practical collaboration, that we can also give some support also for the time that they are spending and giving access to. So really how to build these different forms of reciprocal relationships. Yeah, and that was it about this course.
Sorry about that, people. Yeah. That's the overview of what Eduardo was just talking about.
So now,
Yeah, I think we can just go on.
yeah.
Yeah. So this is now part one, really the research results.
Yeah. So first, our starting question was really about, okay, how does this renewable energy community work, and how does it contribute to social value creation? But then we noticed throughout the time that we don't have an energy community yet here. So because of the lack of capacity to build these within the local framework, frame, and then we transformed our question into how can we build this capacity in a neighborhood, and our consideration practice was to apply to the Groene Hub, because we were doing the course and my internship here. So the Groene Hub, if the Groene Hub were to build this capacity, then we need financing. There's a need to demonstrate how we create this value in order to get this financing. And then research helps, so kind of the consideration theory, so the research part is more about, it helps to provide a framework to demonstrate how this value is created, and how the Groene Hub could create value in order to get financing to become an energy community.
And so, a little bit about the context in which we started, and also for me, one of the reasons to do this, just kind of like next to all the projects that we're doing, is really the crisis that we're in, and this is also how we started the course, if you remember a little bit, to really not just talk about, okay, wow, we're working on these amazing solutions, but like, why are we doing it? Where are we actually now? And so just, without going into conversation with each other, I just want to ask you in the group, like, what do you feel when we open the topic of the climate and ecological crisis? This could be a word or a sentence.
Too big problem to solve yourself. So distance to the problem itself.
Yeah, very true. Yeah,
Fear, maybe also.
I can find myself.
You're talking about two problems that's affecting the whole world, which is not only a certain country, The climate change is all over, and everybody's need education about it. You have to educate the people what's going on and why you are doing this project, and what's the effect about what you're doing to their own lives and to the whole society. This is one of the things that you should do.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I think what he is saying, we don't have to think too big, because we have to think first in our own place or our own environment. What can we change and to help, even though it's little, we have to change the way we are living and treating and doing things and eating things. That is, we have to start small.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe one last.
I feel alone, not because, but in the big picture, I feel alone because not everybody sees the problem or is busy with the problem as much as others are. So it's not really a feeling that everybody is joined to fix a problem.
Yeah, and so, yeah, and we're talking about big changes, and change is difficult, right? But if we can remind ourselves of why we want to change, and what are these drivers that drive all of us to be here, for instance, right? And so this is really important in the work that we do here. And the same question is, what do you think are causes for the climate and ecological crisis?
Humanity.
More specific. Well, humanity, well, definitely one of the causes, definitely, yeah.
It's industrialization and the use of fossil fuels, like coal and oil, increasingly large scale uses of fossil fuel.
Other thoughts?
Overconsumption of everything.
Leading to overconsumption.
Yeah. Maybe also an emphasis on growth.
Yes,
Yeah, with
the economy, right? Yeah.
too many people on this earth.
Difficult one, yeah.
The misusing of the resources that we have. And this is the biggest thing, that people don't even understand what's affected the climate change or the ecological crisis.
Yeah. And maybe also on a more human and personal level, like we are disconnected from our place, our land. We treat it as a resource, right? Seeing everything as a resource, the fishes, the ground, people, even, humans we see as resources.
You're responsible for human resources.
Yeah, also a critical word, right? Yeah, so maybe a last one.
Well, I think that a cause of why it's still a problem right now is because we are afraid of drastic change as a country in this sense, or as a community, as a whole community, big community, not this community.
Yeah, great, thanks. No, so that was just to, bring a little bit the context of where we were also coming from in this research.
And we're trying to operate in this interface between societal practical relevance and scientific research relevance. And then this year it was about also in relation to response to the crisis. Okay, let's move away from natural gas. Let's have a natural gas-free society. But okay, who is going to pay for that? And also how to address the technical and the social side of those transitions that are needed. How we can, like this slogan of not leaving anyone behind, where many people were left behind for a long time already. So how we can address those different transitions. And going a little bit more specific to the topic, there's also research relevance, because as we explained in the beginning, we started with these questions about energy communities, energy cooperatives, and also as a solution for this social and technical transition, so making more just, more inclusive. But in the literature, it's very clear that that's not a given. There is potential, But how to translate this potential into reality actually is very rare. Like in Europe, I think Italy and Portugal, they have some examples, but in Germany, Netherlands, Denmark, UK, usually energy communities, energy cooperatives, they are these kind of elite clubs. So they are people who are already in an advantage socioeconomic situation, and that they can benefit further from it. So there is a risk of accentuating inequality if we don't have different models of energy communities and energy cooperatives. And then how we did this, very messy. So bear with me. So we start with this question, okay, how energy communities and energy cooperatives can contribute to this more just, inclusive transition. And then we went to the literature of renewable energy communities. I'm happy that Nicolene is here because I also read a few papers he wrote with Daniel when he was doing his PhD, and we discussed a few of them in the course. But also we went to the open research platform because the Energy Lab has done a lot of research also with students inside those. So how we also can connect this more broader research that is done by, let's say, professional researchers, but also to things that are really happening in the neighborhood, that a lot of student research that has been conducted in the past years. So you probably cannot see, but there are like dozens of theses, internships before that our students went through them, and then we made a sort of summary. It was super rich for us to do that. But we were also here more or less every week with everybody. Lisa was here every week, so we could also engage with Aman, engage with others that work here, to also have this connection between theory and practice. And that led us to reformulate our objective, our research question. And we went also to Waste to visit the energy cooperative, Waste to do talk to them. We spoke to people in the municipality. I am also with Nicole in the energy, the COPE Central, so I discussed also this in the research working group, in the educational working group, and all those back and forth led us to literature in capacity building, and also how we can finance, because this is a big question. If you want energy cooperatives energy communities that are addressing social issues, there is a need to finance that. That's not a given, right? So then we dive into this social impact and social value creation on how we can maybe do that.
Yeah, but the problem is not only financing the solution or the alternative of the energy that you are using. It's the problem, it's the alternative that you provide. It's not sufficient enough yet. And all the researches all the results that I know about, that people reach for alternative energy, it's not yet sufficient for the using of the whole world.
Yeah, I agree with you, but we are looking in the neighborhood, not in the scale is very different, right?
It's going to be the same if you're talking about, let's say, about the community, let's say about the country. It's not even going to be sufficient for the community. If it's not globally sufficient enough, so it's not going to be sufficient enough for the community, right?
So it's also like, maybe we're not there yet, but we're also really below our potential, and there's a lot of pushback. And the pushback is because there's big interest in the existing way of how energy systems are organized. So we need new ways to organize energy systems.
Mm-hmm.
Because the few people that own the energy systems now need a little push.
I'm talking to you just because I've been working in this industry for over 15 years.
Exactly, yeah.
So I understand maybe things practically more than studies.
Yeah, we are not really undermining the technological bottlenecks that are there, but there is also the risk if we only focus on the technological bottlenecks. Addressing them will not solve this problem.
Mm-hmm.
Will not. That's, I think,
we
already know.
A good example is in Southeast. There's a lot of research that has been done on heat networks, for instance, implementing that, and now also the shared wind turbines is becoming a topic. And that's possible to do, right? It's not being done, but there's so much pushback because people are not trusting the solution.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe that can be a starting point of, okay, in this community there are technical solutions that are feasible and proven, but they're still not happening. And so we're trying to research like, okay, how can we find ways of organizing that will facilitate that?
And before I give it over to you, Brian, just a small disclaimer, because we had a inter or multidisciplinary team, but we didn't manage to have a student for a more technical background. So we actually didn't really study the technical, the technological side in that. So that's also an important thing.
Yeah, but that is being done in other studies that we do here in Southeast.
Yes. I would like to ask everybody to write their questions down for the discussion, because what has been told just now is that this is a presentation and the discussion is after this. So please save your questions for after the presentation, when the discussion is done.
It wasn't a question.
If it's a clarifying question, it's fine. Yeah.
If it's clarification, then we can, And then going a little bit in our findings, also from the literature, just reinforcing what I said before. Usually those cooperatives, communities, they fail to contribute to social justice or inclusion because they have these, like in the municipality, they talk about pioneers. In the literature, they refer this to champions that are, okay, those individuals that are actually pulling it. They will mobilize other people, other resources. They have their own network. They know how to apply for funds, that they actually will make it happen. But in many places where this is not a given, they are not there. There are no local champions or pioneers. Also, I think that something says there's this disconnection with the reality of those who could be members of those communities, because they don't have the time to join, they don't see this as a priority in terms of urgency. They are interested in sustainability, but they see they have other issues that are more pressing and more valuable issues going from find a job or other struggles that they face. And also this lack of appropriate reporting schemes. So like in our interactions, then we got some data in the Netherlands that's okay, only the conceptual phase of the energy community requires 20,000 euros. Only paperwork and conceptualization of your energy plan, and someone working full time. There's 40 hours, like are many people working. So 40 hours a week, at least, and 20,000 euros. Of course, then if you go to the other stages, then it goes above 2 million euros. But just this part, it requires money as well, and time, which that's also why you see the usual suspects, usually white, male, retired, who has the money, the time to actually pull these projects, right? So that's also one of the reasons. And then connecting to Zydos, okay, in the literature, say, Zydos thing that I said, just describing, so there is lack of awareness, objective information, lack of skills of when champions, adequate supporting schemes. But we also see that in places like, which of course, Zydos is very big. It's very hard to talk about Zydos as one thing, so my apologies for the generalization. But in those developing neighborhoods, only looking at this is also not enough, because that's very clear also in the review that we did in the Energy Lab Zydos, that we are in a place where there is no trust in institutions, there is no trust in science. Energy transition is very disconnected from the daily experience of people. Because of lack of trust, that's very low willingness to participate in decision making. Why spend time in something that will not lead me anywhere? Also the lack of representation. So if we only look at that layer, it will not work. So we need to think about solutions that are responsive to both. So what is needed? And that's where we also connect back to the Groene Hub, because the Groene Hub has access to technical knowledge, also through the networks and the collaboration with the Energy Lab and others. So there is the technical side, but it's embedded in the neighborhood, so it's able to create social value, as we will discuss later, can build trust. They are also through the energy prosperity service, is a place that people can collaborate and is connecting to the living experience of the community. But then the question is still, okay, but to address the bigger question, is also important to look at how to mobilize, so not necessarily creating capacity, but there are a lot of capacity in the neighborhood. So, but how to mobilize that to energy, to social sustainability related topics when those capacities are not really a given. And then we made this distinction that, okay, we need this pioneer, this champion that has to contribute to two energy communities. One is the formal side is about producing energy, the legal structure, delivering. But the other is actually having people. It's about people, right? The community is about people. How to build this community of people who are engaged in the topic of energy. Energy is a topic that brings people together. How to actually build that community, and that's a necessary condition. If you don't have this, you don't have the other. So you really need to focus here. And then I give the word to Lisa.
And we used a framework for this. It was a framework based on self-organizing capacity, and 3 factors it has. So one of them is the ability to find opportunity in crisis. And as Eduardo already said, the local champions are important to mobilize resources, to gain community trust. They have the networks within their community. They know the language of the community. So they have the identification with the community. They can cause higher social cohesion. And they already invested a lot of time in this, as external parties might have to invest a lot more time because they are foreign to the community. And what needs to be done is a needs assessment, because if you don't know the needs of the people, then what is the solution going to be? So, but in order to have people express their needs, it's also important to come back to the community trust so that they feel safe and open to express their needs. And so there's a bi-directional communication strategy, so that you go back and forth to people in order to discuss among each other what is that we need, and to find in the context of the energy transition, it's important to find a point of recognition that people relate to. And so in one of my interviews, somebody said it's that social element, because it's not about the energy transition, but it's the emotional hook behind it. So that exemplifies this, I guess. Then the next one is the human and social capital within the community, which is very important to make this knowledge flow through the community. And the local champions are, of course, very important here as well. And there is a necessity of shared spaces, and as Aman already told, the Groene Hub is also a facilitator of shared spaces where people can come and do all sorts of things together, but also for residents to come in and have a cup of coffee and feel safe and just feel the connection. And there is also the need to have community responsive activities, so that activities that are responsive to the needs of people, and through that you create skills, which is the human capital, and if that's increased, then you have a higher ability to self-organize within the community, and also to form connections with external partners, which is the third one, because it could show many benefits, that it has the possibility for resource and funding opportunities, and to really form mutualistic relationships so that both parties benefit from each other. However, now in the many interviews that I had, a lot of challenges also arose. So oftentimes there's standardized solutions for local problems, and there's a kind of mismatch between what can be done and what is done now. And so, for example, this interview quote, it's about the problem of funding and initiation costs. and how local initiatives can do it better. So they say now stop appointing external experts in the municipality at a lot of money while we already do the work. And well, that costs a lot of money. What we need, they already have the knowledge there, and we do that 10 times more effectively because they probably won't exceed in the task, and they can, from inside the community, can do it way better. So yeah, now the Groene Hub and community organizations, as we are going to look at them as the energy transition pioneers. First.
Yeah, just some concluding remarks, because if you think about that iceberg that I showed, right, that bottom layer, so there's a lot of recognition from other actors, including or especially in the public administration, the municipality, that there is a need for local initiatives such as Groene Hub and others to actually contribute to those issues. So there is an appreciation and an acknowledgement of that, but there is a misalignment between those values and practices and expectations and how those supporting schemes are actually designed. So there is not really a supporting scheme that really fits, and a common struggle is this really siloed and short-term funding structure. So there is always this need of what's my funding next year. So there is not, although there is this acknowledgement, there is no structural supporting scheme for social value. We also discussed it with Laura about the European framework and how that can be embedded in the public procurement, for instance, the challenges that are out there and the subsidy schemes. But this is very challenging for very different reasons. We can talk about that, which make this so very challenging. So I think our main conclusion is actually a question, like how, but then how can we actually address that? How we can overcome to create this alignment between the value that those initiatives create, values that are needed if we want to move to a more socially inclusive transition, and the supporting schemes and the also financial structure that are actually behind and supporting those initiatives.
Okay, there's also a list of references. Research makes a lot of reading. And yes, so the research part is really important because it gives us a framework to think about what we need to do and where are the gaps, kind of. And it's important that now this framework that was presented, it can offer a framework for not only the Groene Hub to analyze our activities, but also for other neighborhood organizations. So not only for us to think about, okay, how do we contribute to these, let's say, community capacity building activities, but also for other organizations. So what I'm gonna do now, so first of all, a lot of information, I know, so so I'm gonna keep it more short. We're also gonna share the slides afterwards. However, we want to now kind of see what happens if we apply this framework to the Groene Hub. So the first thing that Lisa mentioned is the ability to find opportunity in crisis. And so for us, it was also really thinking about, okay, are we able to do that? Were we able to do that? And so I have two examples. So one crisis that we faced at the end of last year is that our subsidy program, there was a 3-year program and helped us build the whole organization as it's now, ended. And there was a lot of uncertainties about the financing of the Groene Hub in the future. Actually, it was even so far that I was already talking with Eduardo, but we didn't know, like, only if we get financing, then only will we be able to do the research project, even if we have the intention to and we know it would be valuable. It was uncertain. And so with challenges that came with it, but now we are in a transition to a financial model that has a mix of financing forms. One big one is now tender money, actually, which is also a new thing, the first time that we, as a social organization, work with tender money, but also subsidies and project-based finance. And actually, all of the projects could now continue, maybe even in a smaller scale, but all of the projects could continue despite the challenges. Also, this gives us the chance to kind of highlight now how important it is to have this public money to support the local organizations, because we're also working for these municipal goals, which we are still doing now. But yeah, if we have a lot of challenges in surviving, it makes it much more difficult to actually focus on working on the goals. But that also led to the next crisis, which is that the tender that we are doing in Southeast, the Energiebesparing service, has a lot of challenges. A big one is that it is pretty rigidly focused on energy. We're in people's houses, and there's a lot of other things that we encounter. There is not really a budget for outreach and acquisition, and the holistic view is missing. Looking at, okay, energy as part of the bigger picture of well-being, for instance. Also, there's a lot of reporting requirements and not a big budget to cover overhead costs, and this doesn't make it very suitable for social organizations, because the thought is, okay, a business has all these structures in place and they know reporting, and we've done it on a small scale, but not in a big scale so much, so it meant a lot of challenges. But the opportunity that we're wanting to create in this, instead of just saying that it's not good, we want to learn from it. And so making like the tender a practice use case where we talk about our reality now, learn about it in practice, but also feed that back to different places in the municipality. So then maybe the next time there's a tender, or maybe there's not a tender, that these challenges can be taken into consideration. And importantly now, because it's connecting us to a lot of people, so we're also creating a network and knowledge on how to maybe connect the tenders goals, which come from the central city, to other municipal goals, especially more locally, like the energy transition, like capacity building, like the social aspect and also health of people. And again, if there's any clarifying questions, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, we'll also go into conversation afterwards.
Yeah.
Say again, everyone is?
Don't dare to
Everybody's afraid.
afraid of
Everybody's
Groene.
The one with the pink hat, huh?
Yeah, that's not allowed. So we are allowed to ask questions.
So the next one is human and social capacity, capital within the community. So how are we contributing to that? And so this really highlights, I'm really going to focus on us as an organization and what we've been able to build. And so if you know us, you've seen that we have this circle structure. And we believe that, not maybe for every organization, but we believe that this can possibly be replicated for other social organizations to organize their activities. And I'm not going to go into detail in this, and I talk hours about this, but I'm not. But in essence, we have a basic organization that does all the things an organization needs to do, so that the projects, these are independent projects, and these are like projects in development, can focus more on their work with like minimal overhead. And so we're not a business, we're a cooperative, and that gives us some opportunities that maybe businesses don't necessarily see for themselves. And that is that we can have a transparent and inclusive financial model, which is really what we're striving for. And so, as you can see, we have this tender money, we have a subsidy money, and we have project-based finance. And we can make that transparent to show, okay, these are ways of how you can organize a lot of things that are happening, even if it's a bit complex, under one umbrella. And because one of the challenges is really that, well, for projects, it's easier to get funding because you're working on a specific goal, so you get money for a specific goal, and then you report on the results of that goal. Even the reporting part can be a bit tricky, but has like an input-output logic. But the basis organization that does the HR, the finances, the bookkeeping, coordinating the people in the organization, bringing the people together, offering the facilities, and that's more difficult to find financing for. And that's really what we're talking about when we talk about this basic organizational capacity. And this is where we believe collaboration with the city should be.
It's difficult to get structural finance for this.
Exactly. And so now we're like covered for 2024, but again, this part, right? So this project runs till 2025. But if this part breaks down, it won't. But
and do you have sharp that this is different from a business, but how do they organize it in a business, and why can you not organize it at the Groene Hub on that way? Because I agree that it is not possible, but did you also
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. And so, I mean, the goals are different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's no central management, so to say. And so, as in the energy team, well, there we are a bit more structured because we are executing a project.
Mm-hmm.
But in the town of Van Brasa, they're doing community work in a garden, right? They don't want a hierarchical structure. That's not going to work, right? And so that's asking for this different structure.
Mm-hmm.
Can I add something? Because, for instance, the Koop Centraal, that's an initiative about energy community cooperatives in Amsterdam, that's also Rabobank and the Hement is also involved. Then we had this discussion about models of energy cooperatives, but if you have the traditional model, then you have a clear revenue stream that's based on selling energy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a business plan that you sell energy, you have the other contributions of members, and that's the idea that they can cover the overhead, they can cover the in-kind contribution of members.
Yeah, because they make money.
Because then you are selling something in the market. But here, we are not selling anything in the market. So then the revenue
I
stream.
understand. It's just that maybe it helps to make it really, really clear and put it in bullet points why it's not a business.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I don't know if it helps. Huh?
No, that's a good point. That's a good one for us to take along. Like, okay, how are we functioning differently? And I think because also there's one more reason that there's a lot of people involved in all of these things. Well, coming to
It's very resilient. It's more resilient than a just-in-time business model, for instance.
Yeah,
It's more resilient.
for this purpose.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, it's really expensive to hire people. It's much cheaper to hire machines, unfortunately. But and so that's one of the maybe that's one of the reasons also businesses have to make so much money, because you need to pay their people, and then you have a revenue model like that. But that's not what we're doing, right? And so with this structure, even though it's a struggle, with about 2 FTEs split across 4 people, we are coordinating the whole thing, right? I'm talking about this middle part. It's like 2 FTEs roughly, which is too little, but we are able to coordinate it and facilitate the space so that all the other people can organize themselves, keeping the overhead very low. So that makes it possible to also run smaller projects. And again, we need to prove that it's possible to do this, and that we can also, how do you say, verantwoorden?
Responsibility?
Yeah, like justify our funds that we receive, all right? And so that we've made that possible by creating a finance and bookkeeping that is really reflective of these circles. And it sounds very logical, but to do it in practice is a challenge, because you just need to talk to a lot of different people, and you need to maybe implement good structures to be able to do that. And so this is just a little insight into our finances and bookkeeping, which can be dry, but it's super important to run a healthy organization. And equally important is the human resources the human aspect of the organization. And so because we're working in a different way, we're also really learning how to work together in this cooperative. And so there was a 3-year program that I mentioned earlier that ended, and that was called Gebietsrecht Slim. And now this phase is really about also incorporating the lessons learned into a new way of working dynamically together. Also, the communication with internal and external stakeholders is super important. And we're also working on creating like an HR handbook. Like what are the ways that we want to interact with each other, and that can maybe also help other people. Also, we're learning that yes, we're in the community, but we don't know everything about the community, and the only way to get to know is to really go out there, and our projects help us to do that. But also, we want to build the trust in the community. So it's not just about the people that are working here, and offer a learning and breeding ground for everyone to collaborate. And this is one thing that I really loved, is the human aspects of the transition, that the big transition to hopefully do something about the crisis that we're in. It also involves a transition of us and a personal process that we're going to, and also that we tell ourselves that I am valuable, I can do this, we can make a change, and that's really important to mobilize as well. And so for us, this means that we want to create a workspace with honesty and vulnerability, and also a more humane approach to the work environment and the work ethic and care for each other. And I'm very grateful that we have such a lovely team to face the challenges that we face. So it's a dynamic structure of circles, and I just want to highlight a few of the latest efforts for the creation of the social and human capital. And we're going to keep it short, but so first of all is the Energiebestraße, so the tender that we're doing with the municipality, looking at that with a holistic approach. So yes, the main focus is to do the job, but it's really a chance to build trust in the community. Our work is now to go into the community and help people improve their homes. We're also looking to create synergies to connect with other existing neighborhood platforms and think about their role in the energy transition, because they connect to a lot of people. We need to reach the people, and we can also connect people back to those organizations. And very importantly, also creating local work and knowledge. So we're focused on hiring people that are in South Oost, because now we do actually have a chance within this project to hire people. There is a development of a kastgebouw in the town of Van Braven. It's just a sketch of it, and so they're working together with TU Delft students to create a concept for the kastgebouw, which is also really amazing stuff. And the town of Van Braven is really an independently functioning circle. And the Groene Hub is just facilitating role there, but also great to see that is possible, like an independent entity within this that really has its own life. And then also the community outreach that we're doing with the Mark Atelier, which we'll also get to in 2 minutes. So that's us. Here you see a picture of when we got our first material delivery. So we got together with the students and we made everyone sort the lamps and the radiator foil. And and this is us doing some outreach. And we also had the chance to be in the Stadsdeel Krant, which is very nice.
You took a picture after I left because I was there.
Oh yeah, you were there. Yeah. We were not hiding from that. Yeah, you had to leave early, yeah.
You have to retake the picture. Yeah.
And so maybe you've seen this before, and so to really kind of emphasize how we're trying to make this holistic approach, this is it. We map it out on the donut, so that makes it kind of possible for us to think about, okay, within our actions and our work, how do we want to do it? And well, a good example is, for instance, that now there's not so much trust with the municipality, but this is a great thing actually that the municipality is offering to the people. So we're also saying, like, we work together with the municipality. It's a social project to hopefully help build a bridge again. We're also, like, now we're going into houses, so we're actually learning about the apartment complexes that are in this neighborhood to also, that's information that you need for energy transition. And also, so I'm really also trying to hire more females in the team, Jaslet, who really supports me greatly. And like, it's really like, the dynamic has really changed since Jasmine joined, and offers so that you can be vulnerable with me and things which I can't always do with the guys. So it's really important to and it's cool to see how, like, if we are doing these things, it also increases like the passion in the team. And okay, we're not only doing products at people's homes, but we're also contributing to bigger societal goals. It's really development. So we started like this. So in October we had this thing, and I don't know who of you are designers, but like you start somewhere and then you iterate, and then you improve it. And so we started smaller like this, and then step by step we take it to the next level. And then the outside, this is Lisa mapped this a little bit to one of the social value creation frameworks, like how this fits into that. So the post-its are really like practice examples, and this is more theoretical framework around it.
And you only put the social ones in it, isn't it? And not the...
So this and this, you mean?
Yeah, you did only the social fundament and not the ecological plafond.
Yes. So yes, indeed. So our focus now has been, okay, the work that we're doing, how do we connect it to the social goals? And in the start, we have, klimaatverandering, so we are creating awareness, I would say, about the problem. But we're not that far yet. And I really would like to also create awareness about the biodiversity loss, but we're not there yet. But so these are dimensions that I think, like, yes, we want to contribute to within this project. But actually, yes, we're not doing any active activities yet to do that, and maybe that also needs some more time because we need to focus on these other aspects for now, and also running the project. Yeah.
But you are working on the outer side,
Yeah,
I
of
think.
course.
Yes.
Because, maybe it's not. Yeah, it's een speldenprikje,
Yeah.
but they are saving energy. So
Yeah.
They are saving energy, and that way it is contributing to reducing climate change. Yes, that is true. That is true.
yeah,
Yeah.
that requires.
I'll put it here now, energy, right? Yeah. But so this gives us a bigger picture of, okay, what is the context that we're working in? We're nearly done with the presentation part. I would really like to ask Astrid to share a little bit about the Maakatelier, if that's okay for you, Astrid.
You can do it.
I can also do it. Okay, I
This
can
is
also
not
do it.
so good, yeah?
Okay, I can do it. No, it's fine.
Astrid, come on.
Come op, zeg.
Come on.
People can also translate then you talk Dutch.
You can go in Dutch if that's alright.
And people can translate both.
Yeah, that is possible.
Yeah, but how you're attracting the community here.
Just talk.
Okay, this is the Maakatelier. The only thing I think I'm doing is just bring people inside and keep them here. And how to keep them here is just to give them what they ask. And I teach them a lot of things, but I'm not above them. I'm equal. I like to work equally with other people because that gives them trust, self-dependence, and all those things. Because I don't want them to think I'm the teacher, because they are the teacher from themselves. And that keeps them here. And I always like to be one of them, because I was also one day at school, I have to learn it, and now I just give my ability to them, and I want them to grow, and they have to, even though maybe they can do the same thing I'm doing now, in another time, another moment, but that is what we do in the Groene Hub. We give people the chance to grow and to be themselves. even though it's in this way or by Aman or by the Bright Kitchen, but they get the chance to grow and to do the things what they want. And that is what is making the Groene Hub. And that is also, we need those people, because if we don't have these people, is what the, I don't know if you said it, but somebody said it, if we don't have them, we cannot have the energy transition. Because if we give them the first thing what they need, we can give them the energy transition. Because then they're, you know, when you're gonna make a cake, you have to smoosh it a little bit. So that is what we do with the people. We smoosh them a little bit. And then now we can give them something what is really important. So we make the change at the moment they're ready for it. That's what we do.
And also, so make it a bit more accessible. So in the Markatelier, they also make curtains, right? Which is also one way to save energy. So we're thinking, okay, how can we connect that? And then we're thinking like people from the neighborhood making curtains, helping other people improve their home, but also save energy, you know. Then that can create a little bit of ownership and like, yes, I can make that little difference, you know, if we're doing it together. So hopefully we can make that a thing.
Yeah, that's one thing I want to say, because I make a curtain for somebody in the home, and it was very cold in their house. Now she's not complaining, but it's something to think about. Also, she said, "Oh, now my room is so hot." Yeah. But she have to open the door or the window.
Yeah. That's important.
Yeah.
I have a question for Astrid, if it's possible, because community outreach, I think what you do is also much more than only the math atelier.
Yes.
So maybe you can explain a little bit further on what you do as community outreach here in the community in partnership with all the grassroots and in your dreams and what else is possible.
Okay. Can I sit?
Yeah.
You already said so, yeah.
Okay.
I see you, so.
What I do, I just listen to them, because even though we're in the Mark Atelier, we have a lot of topics. Everything what is in the community or in life, we just discuss everything from children till whatever. We discuss everything. So, and that's the only way to know what the people want and what they think about. Also the energy and everything. And so also about their health, because the health is also something what is sustainability. And it's how you're gonna use your body to make it healthy. And we give also on Wednesday, the people they dance, Zumba, we do that. I talk with them about a lot of things. It's not only health. If I go out, I walk with them, even though it's 1 hour, even though it's a lady from 80 years old, I go, because if that is what she needs, that is what I'm gonna give her, because it's their time.
Yeah. Caring, right?
Yes, and that is what you have to put in them to get something back.
Yeah, thanks.
You want to know more?
Yeah, people don't want to leave the Market today. Okay, so
one thing I know about Astrid, what she's doing, like she can, like if she met somebody and she see like something special about him, she knows how to put him and connect him with the right person to do
Good.
the good
Yes,
that he has.
connector.
Yeah, so she's a really good connector, and she's a good headhunter, you know. Yeah.
expanding the team, so join us if you want. Okay, the last one is the partnership with external actors. Right? I hope till now you could see like how the framework helped us to map out things a little bit to make more sense of what we're doing, right? And so this is now a bit more focused. This is not long, so it's just one slide. And so just the relationship with the external actors, especially focused on the conversation to help facilitate this long-term support that we've been talking about. And so I'm just going to name the different conversations that are happening. So one conversation is happening with Stadsdale and the master plan in Southeast. And this is happening together with other neighborhood organizations, which are Hart for the Kabel and CoForce. There's another conversation happening which is more on a city level, and this is happening with one part of the city that is called Circulaire Middelen and Circulaire Economie. And this is happening with a bunch of other organizations as well. In New West, the Kaskantine of Wortel en Sjeu, in Noord, the Amsterdam Donut Coalition, and many others. And there's also a program called Amsterdoen, where also, colleague Bram has actually created an in-depth description of Groene Hub and how we also help to create value and what our goals are. And this is really a collaboration with a co-creative group of change makers, also thinking about how can we bring city and neighborhood organizations together. And, it's not a one-size-fits-all, and it's not going to solve all our problems, but it really has a lot of potential. And so if we are able to have good examples of how to do this, incorporating the personal development, incorporating community, incorporating, the organizational capacity, working together and also looking at social and ecological, finding a forum to do that has a lot of potential if we can replicate it, if we can scale it. And then, with trust, hopefully bring plans and money together and really create shared roles with a long-term focus and the motivation that we share to work on these goals. So that's the presentation. We're going to go into the conversation in a second, but I want to thank you first for your